This is Miller Philosopher. One of the many plot holes within Lord of the Rings lore is that of what happened to Radaghast the Brown, one of the 5 wizards that came from Valinor to assist Middle-earth in its struggle against Sauron. The topic has been discussed before, but for me, the deeper question was not as much what happened to him, but as much as why he disappeared in the first place. And of course, this is approaching it from a in-universe position as well. What we know for a fact is that the literature says that Gandalf was the only successful emissary of the original 5 to return to Valinor after the War of the Ring. Saruman was killed. The Blue Wizards are another and probably more well-known mystery, having gone to the Far East and then just disappeared, with nothing but guesses and rumor as to what their fate was and why they failed, if they did. Even Tolkien doesn't conclusively elaborate on it, I think because he preferred the mystery of it. Or perhaps maybe he just got lost in all the other redos he was trying to do to perfect his tale. What we know of Radaghast is that his participation during the events of the Lord of the Rings trilogy was important, but at the same time relatively small and off-screen for the most part. He is known for having, in the beginning, helped out Saruman in terms of locating Gandalf and inviting him to his tower, as well as having sent one of the Great Eagles to rescue Gandalf from Saruman's tower. After that, during the Council of Elrond, Radaghast is again mentioned, I believe, but as far as known, he's missing in action. No one has seen nor heard of him since Gandalf had just been rescued. Not even at his old abode in Rhosgobel. And that's the last we basically hear about him in the story. Now, one theory I read about the Brown Wizard's fate was that he faded into his spirit form to be closer to the animals of Mirkwood, whom he was well known for caring for very deeply. That he grew so attached to nature and to the creatures of the forest that it eventually overcame his mission for which he was sent to Middle-earth for by the Valar. What is known for sure is that he was available for the war in its beginning, and then not too long after that, he's MIA. But there's no body or report or rumor that he was killed either. So, to make an educated guess about why Radaghast vanished, I looked to his past. That in Valinor, he was a Maiar of the Valar Yavanna. She was also associated with nature and in fact was responsible for the creation of the Ents deep in the early times of the First Age to protect the trees from Aule's dwarves, and that she also created the stars that the elves revered. So, therefore, it's only logical that Radaghast was taught or had inherited a similar reverence for the natural world from her. It's a similar relationship to what happened between Aule and his failed Maiar, Sauron and Saruman, all 3 sharing very similar traits. But more importantly, I think it's important to compare Radaghast to another Maiar of Yavanna from the ancient days, Melian. Melian was one of the most revered and respected beings in Valinor, even before she chose to remain in Middle-earth as the wife of Eleuthingol. Renowned for her beauty and her powerful song, she was so powerful that even the Valar themselves would drop whatever it was they were doing to listen to her sing. It was said that when the news of the awakening of the elves was first brought back to Valinor by Orome, Melian, on her own accord, went to Middle-earth, blessing and hallowing the natural world to prepare for them to inhabit. Of course, it's during this time that she runs into Thingol, falls in love with him, and remains in Beleriand as its High Queen until the closing decades of the First Age, when her husband is killed by dwarves. In despair, she effectively gives up on Middle-earth with the threat of war, and more so, I think, mortality soon to be crashing on her gates, not having to deal with mortality before until realizing Lúthien's accepted mortality, and now the death of her husband. I think that this, more than anyone or anything else, gives insight into why Radaghast vanished. Essentially, that, like his peer, Radaghast too was now facing the threat of war about to come crashing down on what he loved most. and therefore disappeared from sight. However, since he could not go back to Valinor, having given up hope on his mission, he chose to remain among those whom he cared about the most. So in that sense, it's also similar to what happened with Saruman, except that he didn't dissipate into nothingness, as the text says. I think this is a logical assumption, given that he cared about the nature of Middle-earth, even more so than the mission to guard Middle-earth against the return of Sauron, because, like his peers and his master, were focused on more than just Middle-earth in general, but on individual aspects of it. And I think this may be why, in universe, that he just basically disappears from all record or history during the War of the Ring. But let me know your thoughts below on this. This is the Middle-earth Philosopher, and have a good day.